Warning: the reviews expressed in this video should not be taken as law or be worshipped in any way whatsoever. I'm just an idiot with an opinion on YouTube. If you don't like my opinion, it's a free country, so you got that one figured out. Good job there. If you like the video, subscribe, like it, share it with your friends, sleep with it playing in the background, go jump on a trampoline. The world is your oyster, man. Hey guys, Nathan from 1 Minute Reviews here. I just wanted to do a more extended commentary on the trip to New York City because there's a lot I didn't really cover. With the reviews. Not that we really did a whole lot more. I think I got the generalness down of what we were doing. But just the trip itself was really interesting to me because I had never been in that big of a city anymore. I've been in Chicago, I've been to Los Angeles, but New York City is something else. There's the United States of America, and then there's New York City. It's like a completely different world there, just with the size and scope of everything, and just how fast everything goes by there. Life goes by super fast there, and you can just tell from walking around how much of a hurry people are in to go and do things, how everyone just kind of mingles everywhere but never really socializes with each other, and just how much there is to do there. Uh, so we flew in on JetBlue Airlines, which I reviewed in my video as an example of what a United States airline should be, because U.S. airlines are they were trash to begin with, and they're getting even trashier. I might even do a video on it because I'm sick and tired of airlines in the United States. But JetBlue is the exception that kind of proves the rule with that. We flew in. It was an overnight flight, which was kind of a bummer because I don't mind overnight flights, but they've got to be longer flights. They got to be like 9 or 10 hour flights where I can get some decent sleep. They serve one, maybe even two meals on the plane. They, cater to you a little bit more. This more just felt like a domestic flight that happened to be overnight. So I maybe got 2 to 2.5 hours of sleep. Um, and for whatever reason, when we started our descent, they turned the lights on, which I hated because why do I need to wake up for the descent? Just tell me when we're on the ground. Um, but whatever, it wasn't that big of a deal. But the thing about that is, we got in at 6 in the morning, and we didn't really have anywhere to go initially. We scheduled the Statue of Liberty tour at noon, um, but we had like 5 hours to kill. Where we took the subway in, we got our Metro cards, like I explained in the last video. We got our Metro cards, took the subway in, and then just spent 5 hours basically just roaming around the city with our luggage. We luckily were packed light. We came in with a sorry, my mic fell there. We came in with just a backpack for each of us. Ended up leaving with an extra duffel bag as well because we had some stuff to take back. We got some souvenirs there. But more on that later. Anyways, so we had 5 hours to kill just walking around Battery Park, which is on the south end of. I don't know if it's south actually. But that's the other thing about New York too, is that you get so discombobulated with directions, you have no idea which way is north, east, west, or south. Everything's just like, oh, you just go over there, you just go over there. Or, like you don't even. It's so easy to get lost in a big city before. I was so overwhelmed by it, even though I had lived near Chicago and I had been in other big cities. Um, and even my girlfriend was overwhelmed a little bit because she's been in Mexico City before, which is similar, but she's never been in a big city in the U.S. before. So other than the Bronx, which is where he ended up being for a little bit of time, it was crazy. Um, so yeah, so we went down to Battery Park. We hung around down there. Something really interesting happened. I actually learned how to speak squirrel, I guess, because there were some squirrels in the park there, just in the grass area. We were on the sidewalk, and there's a fence, and then there's a grassy area, which you can go on too. But we were just walking down the sidewalk. I saw a couple squirrels. I started making these weird noises with my mouth. Kind of sounded something like just like sucking into the teeth or something like that. And all of a sudden, all these squirrels just start coming towards me, and like some are like climbing up on the fence and stuff. And it was just crazy. I was like the squirrel whisperer or something. This was at 7 in the morning too, though, so nobody saw it. But so that was unfortunate. But yeah, so figured out. I learned how to speak squirrel, I guess. But we kept walking around Battery Park, just kind of taking everything in. Downtown Manhattan is definitely my favorite place in the cities. I don't mind the boroughs at all. The boroughs were fun. We stayed in Brooklyn the first couple nights, and then we ended up staying in the Bronx later on. Um, but downtown, like the financial district of Manhattan, was just a sight for me. That was definitely my favorite part of the trip, is just walking around there and seeing the hustle and bustle of daily life there, and all the buildings and the architecture, the World Trade Center memorial, the Charging Bull Fearless Girl statue, which I reviewed, Battery Park, the ferries, the cruises, the helicopter. Oh my gosh, I have never seen more helicopters in a short vicinity of area than I saw when we went to New York. It was crazy. Like, even my girlfriend was um, commenting on that, because they're just flying around everywhere. And there's helipads. There's like three different helipads that are on each side of the bay there, and they're just flying into the different helipads and dropping people off. I'm assuming important businessy people, because it was the financial district, but they just were dropping people off and then would fly away, and it was just crazy. It was just part of the whole scope and experience of the trip. So we went on the Statue of Liberty tour, which I'm not really going to go into too much because I already reviewed it in my video, but it was a good tour. Came back around 3 or so. It might have been 3:30. Took the subway over to Brooklyn, which is where we were staying the first couple nights, because I got confused with my cousin, or not my cousin, my girlfriend's cousin. I told her the plan originally was that we were going to spend, every night that we were there with her, so that we didn't have to go pay for like an Airbnb or something like that. But when I contacted her about it later, I made the mistake of saying, she asked like, "Are you good for the trip? Do you need anything?" I was like, "I know we're all booked and ready." And she took that to mean that we were booked for the hotel as well, which we weren't. I just meant we were booked for the flight. I just assumed that she knew already we were staying, so she thought we were booked. So she rented out her space to a friend of hers. So I ended up having to stay at an Airbnb, um, which is something I decided not to review just because I didn't really have a whole lot to say about it. It was fine. It was rather cheap. It was in Brooklyn, not the shadiest part, but kind of a shady part. Um, but the room was fine. The roommates and the guests and stuff were nice, and the price was cheap, so I was fine with it. Um, so we stayed there Saturday, Sunday, and Monday night. And then Tuesday we spent that day in the Bronx, just seeing the sights there and everything. But Brooklyn was definitely something else. I remember we get into Brooklyn. This is where the story gets kind of interesting. We get into Brooklyn. I had remembered the address for the Airbnb being somewhere that it wasn't actually. So we did end up actually going to what was probably the shadiest part of Brooklyn, at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, and it's starting to get dark, and I'm the only white guy on the street that I even saw while we were walking down there, and my girlfriend's the only Latina on the street that we saw even walking down there. Um, and we go up to where the address we think it is, and they're like, "Oh no, we haven't, we didn't rent out a room to anybody because it was the wrong address." Um, and so and my phone was dead at this point. So they're nice enough to lend me an extension cord, so I could charge my phone. Found out the address was different, and that we had to take like two different bus rides to get up there. All this is happening at like 7 o'clock at night in a really shady area, after we had gotten takeout Chinese from this place that looked like it had probably been robbed a couple times. There's graffiti everywhere. There's like chained up doors and crap. It was insane. That's something that I haven't really been exposed to a whole lot, and something my girlfriend has been exposed to, but in Mexico, which country by country is a little bit different. So that was pretty crazy. We ended up getting to the right address though around like 8 o'clock at night or so, and ended up being fine from there. Sunday we went into Chinatown. We spent most of the day in Chinatown, which I already did a short review of. Chinatown was fine. It had a lot of good stores, a lot of good restaurants. We didn't actually get to go and we didn't get to go and eat at any of the restaurants, like a sit down meal or anything. We just went shopping, but overall it was a fine experience. We went to Little Italy as well. That's actually where we eat dinner. We ate at this fancy sit down place and then got gelato afterwards. I can't remember what the name of the place is, so I can't even name drop it. But all that was a good experience for sure. Monday we went into Manhattan again. Yeah, think about this. Yeah, into Manhattan again. We went to Soho this time, the shopping district and all of that. And we went to a lot of these different stores. They have H&M there, Victoria's Secret, Pink, um, Aeropostale, all this clothing stuff. I actually got a really nice sweater from there, which will be great for these winter months here because it wasn't cold at all when we were there. But that's an abnormality. It's gonna start getting cold here. It's gonna start getting snowy. I'm gonna be shivering. I'm gonna be freezing, and man, it's gonna suck. I miss summer already. Not that it hasn't gotten cold already, but when it does, at least I'll get to go skiing. Anyways, so so we spent that time in Soho. Went and got something to eat again. Spent some time together with both my girlfriend's cousin and her friend. They came down. They didn't have work because it was a Sunday. Um, so another fun day there. And then Monday we ended up going to. Let's see, Monday we had to go. No, that was Monday. So Tuesday we left our Airbnb in Brooklyn. We took the train. We took all our stuff. We took the train up to Manhattan and decided it would be a bright idea to go around Central Park and um, Times Square with our luggage in hand and walk around that entire area. And that's the point. Like my feet, I was walking around and my feet, if they could talk, they'd be like, Nathan, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're killing us. You're murdering us. This is first degree murder. We're going to sue you. I don't know how a murder victim would sue someone, but you get the point. Um, it was just crazy. I had no idea. I mean, I knew how big Central Park was and I knew how big Times Square was and walking around in that area, but I had no idea how strenuous it would be to walk around with all of our luggage, even though we were packed somewhat light, walking around with our luggage, because we couldn't go and get into my girlfriend's cousin's apartment in the Bronx yet because her and her mom were both at work and the apartment was locked. So we couldn't go and do that yet. It was a little crazy of a situation, but we ended up having to check out of the Airbnb. So we had again all this time to kill where we had our luggage on us and nowhere to really put it. So we ended up having to walk around with it. That's when we went to Central Park. That's when we went to um, some of the other. There's this, I can't remember what it's called, Time Warner Mall or something. There's a mall by Columbus Circle. It's a traffic circle. There's a small by Columbus traffic circle. We went there, checked out some books, as is a tradition of ours. Whenever we go on a trip somewhere, we always go to a bookstore and check out a few books to read when we get back. So we went and did that. There's a nice Amazon bookstore up there. You get a discount if you're a Prime member, which is something I highly recommend you do because Prime is a great deal, especially if you like to shop online for stuff. Um, and then we did Central Park. So we did Central Park first, and then we did the mall, and then we went down to Times Square, which was just amazing. I love the whole flashy aspect of it, the television screens everywhere, and just all the people that go in and out of that area, and the commercialism of it all. A lot of people like to knock American commercialism, um, but I think it's just something I don't, I'm not a big defender of it or anything, but I think it is fascinating when it's in the right context. And New York is definitely, Times Square is definitely a place for that context of American commercialism, and just to see the whole grandiosity of it was insane. That's also where we stopped at Lindy's, which I reviewed in my previous video. We stopped at a diner there. I got a Reuben. My girlfriend got a grilled cheese. It was both good sandwiches. It was really expensive though. Um, but overall, not a terrible day now that I'm looking back at it. I hated it during the time because we were carrying around the luggage and my foot. I got some weird kind of bone bruise on my foot or something on the inside of it, so I was like limping around with the luggage. I'm sure we looked like some weird homeless people or something, but I was limping around with my luggage, and it was started raining out, and just got really messy. And so, but that's part of the fun of it too. That's part of the fun of traveling, in my opinion, is when things don't go well. Um, how do you adjust? How do you make something out of it? And how do you still continue to have fun in these kind of situations? And we ended up still having a lot of fun on that Tuesday. And then Wednesday we flew out. There wasn't a whole lot interesting with that. We just kind of, I mean, up until our flight, we just watched television, and then we went to the airport and took off. Luckily, our flight out was at like 9 p.m. or something like that, so we could we didn't have to wake up super early to go take a subway and then go take a train and then go take the air train into the airport. So that was nice. So overall, it was a good trip. I just wanted to give some further perspective on it, which is something that, the 1 minute reviews, I go through everything super quick there just to get, just to show you the gist of how everything was, but a lot of it is lacking in context, especially for trips like these. So that was the purpose of this video, just to give you guys some context on the trip, how it went, and how the thesis behind why my girlfriend and I love to travel, and why we end up. Actually, we've been thinking about doing this for a while. We've been thinking of making one of those, boyfriend girlfriend kind of vlogs, and putting it on YouTube. If we do that, it'll be on this channel. I'll let you guys know. But then, when we go and travel like this, we can make that part of our vlog as well, and I think that would be a good experience. So overall, just giving you guys some extended perspective and review on what was a great trip. 1 minute reviews. See you next time.